Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's onboarding webinar. We're going to talk about working in the inbox and basically how to set up your account. My name is Vincent. This is my colleague Jure. We're from the customer success team and always here to help our customers get their accounts ready and also help them with the setup. What we're going to do today, we're going to talk about how to work in your inbox. So basically how to deal with the messages. We're going to look into the setup of some key channels, for example, WhatsApp Business, email, and website chat. And we're also going to focus on some useful tools to organize your inbox and to work more efficiently. And we'll close off with showing you how to review your basically your workings in Trengo through the reports feature where you can monitor your performance.
Yes, and well, like Vincent said, my name is Jure. I will be just assisting him today, so I will be your go-to guy for the questions and answers. So if you found this section, do not hesitate to ask a question, and I will get back to you during the onboarding. And of course, Vincent will also follow up afterwards with a good email to show you every information that you might need. So I'll be turning my camera and microphone off for now, but I will be in touch.
Thanks, Jure. Yes, indeed. So after the webinar, you will also receive an email with the link of the webinar. So we're going to record it, but also with some useful information to get you started with your account. So feel free to focus on my screen today to just enjoy and look how Trengo looks and feels. So I think I'm not forgetting anything. So let's get right into it. Just going to share my screen. So this is the Trengo inbox, and as you might know, Trengo is a multi-channel inbox which will allow you to get all your messages from different communication channels in one inbox. This is how it looks. We see basically here the new inbox where all messages come in. In this case, it's a demo account, so we only have one email, but you can imagine the more channels you include, the longer the list becomes of incoming messages. I'd like to focus firstly on this left bar. And in specific, the inbox header. So let's close the rest for now. Basically, in Trengo, a ticket or a conversation can have three different statuses. Either a ticket is new, when it's fresh and incoming in your inbox. It can either be assigned, so then someone is dealing with it. And closed is basically when you have dealt with the case and it will be archived. Lastly, there's the spam, which is an exception. So you could also spam certain contacts that you don't wish to receive emails, WhatsApp messages, or website chats from. So here we see basically the first ticket. This is an email, and every time you would receive a message in your new inbox, you would not only get a pop-up, but you can also choose how to process it. So we see at the top here that you can either assign it to yourself or assign it to either a user, well, in this case, it's only me, or you could also assign it to a specific team. I'll go into teams later on this session, but for now, let's say I would like to assign it to myself. So in this case, you see it disappeared from the new inbox and it went to the assigned inbox. Note that the assigned inbox will basically show all tickets that are of your team. So it will not only show your own tickets. If you would like to see all your own tickets, we have this inbox called personal, where you will find all the tickets that you have assigned to yourself or your colleagues have assigned to you. So here we see assigned has a 1 behind it because that's the email I picked up earlier on. And now I'm also able to respond to the email. Basically, when you write your content, I think in your case, by the way, it looks like this. I'll show the sidebar in a second. But basically, when you would send your reply, you can simply hit send. It will be shown just below the email of your customers. And once you're finished, you can always click on this check mark in the left top. Oh, it's just disappearing a bit. So this one, this is the check mark to basically mark a ticket as closed. You see also when I did that, it removed it from the assigned to me. And basically it went to the closed inbox where you can find all your tickets that have been closed off. One important reminder is in case you work with website chats, closing the conversation means that the customer also cannot continue engaging in the website chat. However, if you would refresh the page, he could start a new chat. But yeah, be aware that if you close a website chat, also for the customer side, that means that the conversation is over. So that's basically the basics. You will be working mostly from the new inbox where you pick up tickets, and assign to me where you can deal with the tickets that are either assigned to you by yourself or by your colleagues. Um, Not important to forget, or what is also important to mention, is that you can also, of course, start conversations. So in the new inbox will be basically all incoming messages, but let's say you would also like to send messages, outbound communication. We have this big button in the top, create a conversation, which will allow you basically to send emails or all channels that you integrate in your account. You can engage with your customers. So keep that in mind, that this is how you would send out emails if there's no previous contact. Further on, let's look into this left bar. So the inbox is basically showing the statuses of a ticket. A ticket will also always be found in either new, assigned, and closed. And basically all these other inboxes you could consider your filter options. Let's say if I reopen this ticket, for example, it gets back on my name, so it will be in assigned to me. But you see it here under assigned. So it has the status assigned, but it will also be visible as in my personal inbox. So this is the first filter. And I could also find it back under the channel inbox. So that's what I mean with the filter options, where you would be able to see tickets both in the inbox header as well as in this case, assigned in my email channel. I'll go into labels later on, which is a very useful feature to organize your tickets. But for now, let's focus also on some useful features to process your tickets. So I would like to get back to my personal inbox where I find the ticket that we're dealing with. First thing I would like to know is that Trengo is a team inbox. So you will be able to add your colleagues to the account and also to communicate internally when dealing with a ticket. So we see at the bottom this internal comment section where I can basically leave internal notes for myself, which will always be shown in gray, and that's not something the customer will see. But I can also use it to involve colleagues, which can be done with the tagging feature. You see here an @ sign in the right bottom, sorry. But you will also be able to simply add or type the @ sign and select one of your colleagues. In this case, I'm the only user in the account, so let's demonstrate how it would feel when you would tag yourself, or actually when you would be tagged. So in this case, I could say, "Hi, Vincent, can you help me with this, please?" And I will be alerted by this. So let's suppose a colleague sent me this tag, and there's a couple of ways to recognize that you would be tagged. First of all, you would get a pop-up notification, and you see it here at the bell icon, left bottom corner, that I have been mentioned. If I click on this, I would be redirected to the ticket. Well, and in this case, I already have it open, so we're already here. But with the notifications bar, you can quickly jump to your tag and respond to your colleague, again with the internal comment. You could also even respond by tagging back. So what we also see in this tag is that there's a check mark behind it. And the reason for that is that your mentions will always be gathered in an inbox. We see in the inbox personal on the left side, the inbox mentioned, and that's basically where I can find all my tags. We also see at the top here that there's 3 different options. So I can filter my tags on the things I still have to do, the tags that I've responded to, and basically all of them. So why is this to do? It has to do with the check mark. So in this case, I can check off a tag in case I read it, or in case I responded to my colleague, just to keep communication clear between your team and inform them that you have read it. So it disappeared from this to-do list and it went to done. And my colleagues will also be able to see this check mark being now in green. So it went from gray to green. So that's the first useful feature to collaborate with your team. Be aware that you do not always have to communicate in a ticket with your teammates. You can also choose to engage in our team chat, which will be available for all users that use Trengo. And basically, it will sum up all your colleagues here, and I could have like a conversation. It's also possible to create groups. So if in case you would have many users in your account, it will be possible to create separate groups to communicate specific cases or projects to keep it all in one platform. Going back to the inbox again, the next thing I would like to show you is how to set a reminder. So it could be that you get a ticket in your inbox and you have either send your response, or you would like to reply later on, then the reminder feature will allow you to basically hide the ticket for a moment and let it reappear after a few seconds or minutes, hours, days, however you would like to see it. So how that works, we see at the top here like this clock icon. And when I click on it, it will allow me to set a timer on it. I can select the day and time when I would like to resurface this ticket. So for example, let's say today at 11:15. I'm sure we're going to still experience this together, how that works. So in case I set the timer, you also see that I will get a reminder on this date and time. This will also make a notification again here in the left bottom corner. So that's the first useful feature, to basically keep track of all your conversations. Secondly, next to this clock icon, we see a star. Basically, that's your favorite inbox. So you could save tickets that you think you might need later on, or you would like to refer back to. And once I click on this icon, it also fills my favorited inbox, where I can find all the tickets that I favorited. So this is up to you how you would like to use it. I myself use it, for example, if I send a response to a customer, which I frequently use, I just save it and put it on under my favorited, so I can always find it back. Further on, it's also possible to to put tags on tickets by means of labels. So that's also where this one comes in play. And I'll elaborate also later on why you would use labels, but let me shortly demonstrate you what it does. So in this case, I would actually need an active ticket. So I'm just going to reopen this quickly. So we see here at the top the label icon. And when clicking on it, I will be able to, select one of the preset labels, but these are also customizable. So I could create a new label by typing here anything I want and creating a label. So in this case, the label tests is added to this ticket. And this is how it seems in the inbox. So it gets a mark so that you can have a better overview of your incoming tickets. Can be overwhelming if you have a lot of incoming messages and you don't know what ticket is for which person or what the topic is. So with this, you can keep track of basically all topics and create separate folders. Because in this left bar, when we go to labels, in this case, I could add the test label later on. Let me just show you how it works when I do it with urgent. So now we see in this label inbox that there's the one with it, and it shows all tickets that have the label urgent. So I can keep track and basically gather all my tickets and emails in one place, or just to keep track of the conversations. Further on, there's a lot of useful features when clicking on the three dots menu of a ticket. You could, for example, forward to email. You could link conversations to each other. You could, also here, set reminders. You could even merge tickets. So for example, if a customer sends you 2 emails about the same topic and you would like to put them together, you could use the merge feature. Basically, when clicking on them, it's also good explained how to use them. Moving on to the sidebar, which I gave you a quick sneak peek on. This is where you can find more information about your conversation, also called conversation sidebar. And first of all, at the right top, we see the contact information. So in this case, what we see is the name of the contact, which I can simply edit by clicking on it, giving it a new name, and you see here in the inbox also that the name changed. And in this case, also the email address of this contact. Be aware, in Trengo, you have contacts and profiles, whereas a contact is basically a contact detail. So it could be an email address, it could be a phone number in case of voice and WhatsApp business, it could be a Facebook account, and for website chat, for example, it could be an IP address. What's interesting about these contacts is at the bottom you find contact moments. So I can always find back previous interactions I had with the contact, in this case, the email address, team@trengo.com. So in your account, you probably also received 3 welcoming emails of us, which will be found then here back. But future on, with your customers, you will be able to review any previous moments you had with your customer. Then there's also the profile feature. And this is basically an overarching entity of contacts. So let's say you have customers in which you have multiple email addresses, a phone number, a Facebook account, and you would like to keep track on basically all communications with them. That's where the profile function comes in, because you can attach multiple contacts in one profile. So in this case, I was talking with Trengo. search for the profile Trengo, and I already created one in this case. So I can select it and it will be placed in the profile Trengo. Now, if you keep profiles up to date, it will allow you to keep track of all the contact moments with the different communication channels. So in this case, the Trengo profile also included my phone number, which can be found here then, and it shows all the contact moments on profile level. So the email was 11 minutes ago, there was a call 2 hours ago, 2 weeks ago there was another email. So basically all communication in one place. I could also click on the profile to get a better overview of all contact details. I could also engage by clicking on these, and I can find the contact moments again here. To get to profiles, it's either clicking on the profile button that we saw here, or clicking the contacts, where you will find all your contacts basically, as well as the profiles. So that is it for the conversation sidebar. I do have some extra tips about working in the inbox. For example, the bulk action feature. So let's say you would have multiple messages that can be closed at once. Can be time consuming if it's a lot. So it is possible to make an action on multiple tickets at the same time. So for this, I would need to go to my closed inbox, because that's where I find the multiple tickets. And I could simply select them to create one action for all of them. You see here at the top that 3 have been selected, and by simply clicking on the arrow, I can either assign them all to myself or to a team. I could also delete the ticket, not recommendable by the way, or mark them all together as spam. So yeah, that's it for the inbox. Again, we will share this link of this webinar, and it's being recorded, so you will be able to look back and see what options are useful for you. Next up, let's look into the settings page, and that's where it gets interesting, because it's how you can govern your account. You can click on this gear icon in the left bar, and it will show you all settings that are possible. Be aware that the left bar basically shows the same as what is in the middle. I prefer the left bar myself, but it's up to you if you would like to work with colors and the structure as this is here, or in the left bar. And the first thing I would like to mention about the settings page is this is where you can determine what user sees what messages is in their inbox. So in Trengo, you work with certain teams, and these teams are attached to channels. And that's how you determine what teams can see and have access to certain channels. So I could say, I will be in charge of email, and I only set a team for myself and attach it to the email channel, while my colleague is in charge of website chat, and I simply put a new team for him and attach it to the website chat channel. How that works in the channel settings, we will look on in a minute, but let me show you how to create a team. You can simply click Teams in the left top, and in this case, and in your case as well, there's gonna be a standard team already. Depending on the size of your team that's gonna work in Trengo, you might wanna have multiple teams and select specific channels that they're attached to, or keep it simple, one team, all communication, everyone is responsible for all messages coming in. Then the users tab, this is where you can invite your colleagues by simply clicking here. You enter their email address, which is purely their login, so there's no processing of that email address in any other way. First and last name, the authorization, which is basically the role you give to a user, and that might need some explanation. So a user is in this case someone that can only see tickets in the assigned to me inbox. We saw in the inbox that you pick up tickets yourself from the new inbox, and then you can respond in the assigned to me inbox. So in case you would give someone the user rights, he or she only will be able to view messages in the assigned to me. So no possibility to pick up tickets themselves. The supervisor role will have the ability to pick up tickets from the new inbox. So basically access all conversations in your inbox as long as they're in the right teams. Highly recommendable if you are working with a small team and you say everyone is working together, because with supervisor, everyone can pick up tickets and work collectively to empty the inbox. Then there's the administrator role. This one will allow you to have access to the settings page, basically where we are now. And lastly, the light user, which will be able to communicate with colleagues, and it's purely for internal communication. It's an add-on feature, so it's besides your subscription, and it would only cost you €3 per month for this user, as he will only be able to be involved internally. So let's move on to the channels, which is, I think, the interesting part. I'm going to show you how to apply for WhatsApp Business API, how to integrate your email, and how to set up a website chat. Be aware that there's a lot of more options, and basically why we don't go into them is that they are very quickly to set up. Facebook, for example, is simply logging into your Facebook account when clicking on Add Facebook, and then it's basically you're directed to the settings page to indicate what team should receive the messages. In general, there's a general settings part for all channels, which I'm able to demonstrate for you as well with email and WhatsApp Business. Now, to start with WhatsApp Business, because this is actually a very interesting one. In Trengo, you can work with WhatsApp Business API, which is different than WhatsApp Business for what most people know. So you might be familiar with WhatsApp Business application, an app that you would put on your phone. But WhatsApp Business API is something that you can use in Trengo and will allow all your colleagues to work on one centralized number, whereas the WhatsApp Business application only allows you to have it on one device and basically one person at a time communicating. Also, with the WhatsApp Business API, you will be able to use all automation features in Trengo, so it's able to automate your workflows on that channel as well. Now, because it's a powerful tool, because you will be able with all colleagues to work on one number, WhatsApp does have some processes in place to work with the API. First of all, you need to submit a request to work with it. It's simply because WhatsApp wants to check that you are who you are and that you have the number in your possession and that the number is linked to your company. To do that, you can click on Submit a Request. And basically, it will direct you to a page where you can find all details or fill in all details to submit the form. We'll send you information afterwards on how to fill in this form, but in general, I'd like to stress the Facebook Business Manager ID. So to get approved for WhatsApp Business, you will need a Facebook Business Manager account, which is typically an account being created via business.facebook.com, where you will be able to find an ID number for your WhatsApp Business request. It doesn't have to be an account that is very active, so you can always create a new account simply to have the ID number, and there are some extra steps later in the process which we will inform you if you would apply. Be aware that there's also a Learn How button, so if you're feeling lost on how this works, you can always check here how to retrieve your Facebook Business Manager ID, or you could always get in touch with us, of course, via email, team@trengo.com. Be aware there's also some rules around it, so I would definitely recommend checking the commerce policy and the limitations of WhatsApp Business. In short, basically the most important rule that WhatsApp Business has is the 24-hour rule. Basically what they have introduced is they want to keep their platform as legitimate as possible. So they would like to have all messages that companies send on WhatsApp are relevant for the customers. So they try to prevent the use of spam and marketing related messages. So that's where the 24-hour rules comes in. It basically means that the initiative lies at the customer to get engaging with you. And after every inbound message of a customer, you get 24 hours to respond freely however you want. Outside this 24-hour, you can either follow up with an SMS fallback, which will always include a link to redirect the customer to WhatsApp conversation, or you could follow up with WhatsApp templates. And these templates are basically messages that you can get approved by WhatsApp, so you can also engage with customers directly. Because as I said, the initiative lies at the customer, but you would have the opportunity to proactively reach out to customers in case you have updates on cases or basically any message you would like to engage with, unless it would be a marketing related message. But again, I'll send you information afterwards, which will clearly explain what possibilities there are with templates, so you could have a look with that. Now be aware that the WhatsApp Business requires a request. So if you think, I would like to test it before I actually start using it, it is possible to create a sandbox. And it's simply clicking here on try our demo, see how it works. So after you click on WhatsApp Business here, and basically it's entering your own phone number, you will get a demo number which you can communicate with, and then you could have a conversation between your own number and the demo number provided by us. Be aware WhatsApp Business is an add-on feature, so it is available from the Scale subscription onwards, and it would cost you 45 euros per month to keep the number and a 45 euro setup fee. Moving on to the second one, which is email. And well, a frequently used channel and probably relevant for all of you, you can integrate your emails in Trengo to receive and respond emails in Trengo. So there's three options basically. If you would work with Outlook addresses, it's a very quick integration, basically logging into your Microsoft account and setting up the integration. Secondly, we have G Suite integration. So in case you work with Gmail, there is the option to quickly create a sync integration with Gmail to get messages in Trengo. However, for Gmail, there is an extra step involved because you would need to accept Trengo as a party to receive and send messages from your Trengo account, which will be done in your G Suite environment. I'll send you the details later on how to set it up. So again, if you click on the plus sign, you can add your channels. And in this case, you could add either G Suite, Outlook, which are very straightforward. I would like to show you how it works in case you don't use any of these two, because you can always integrate emails by using forwarding addresses. And I'm realizing this is the first time you will see the settings page in general. So first of all, you can give it an internal name. And the internal name will determine how it looks in Trengo. So this is purely for yourself to keep a structured view of your settings. So in this case, let's say this will be team@trengo.com. I'm not going to really connect it because it's in our real account, but just as a test. Secondly, you can determine who has access to the channel. So as I said earlier on, you can attach team to the channels to make sure that only the people would receive relevant messages. So in this case, we only have one team, which is me. So I will be able then to receive these messages. It's also possible to have like a private channel. And this one basically allows you to, that you are the only one having access to it. In the end, here's a lot of settings to create your signature and also to set an auto reply, which will be sent to all people that would receive it. But most interestingly, if you want to use forwarding addresses, you would need to transform it into your own domain. And that is done with the sender email address option. It will be found in the settings page at the bottom. And you can see a button click here, which will basically guide you in how to set up your own domain in Trengo. You can click new domain. And for example, if I say testing.com, you could enter your own domain, which is after www. It's for your email addresses though. And after clicking add domain, it will give me some options or basically steps to complete to integrate the email addresses. 3 to be specific. So there's a verification mail that needs to be sent to us, DKIM settings and SPF settings, which is in your hosting environment. You might be in charge of that yourself, or you might need to contact your IT party to basically create DNS records for SPF and DKIM. But I'll show you in the email after our meeting or after the webinar, which will explain you how to do this. Moving on to website chat. And this one is actually also interesting because there's a lot of options in how you would like to personalize your website chat. I highly recommend using this button when you want to test or create a website chat and website widget. I'm sorry, the one below. So create your own live chat widget. You will basically be guided in how to create the layout of your widget and how you would like it to be surfaced. So I could determine I want my teammates to be shown at the top or not. I will be able to show the online status, which is here. So I can hide that as well. And if it would require a name and email before chatting. So this would be an option to request information before they start chatting. Could also be seen as a barrier. So that's also up to you if you would like to have that information beforehand. Moving on to the second one, you can select the default languages for the chat because there are some texts within the widget that will be shown. For example, here, Team Trengo, ask us anything, we'll reply as soon as possible. So these texts can be changed however I want. And this one would be then the one at the bottom. Just take it back. And then there's also a styling option to basically choose the color of your widget. And so for the visual layout. Then there's an option to include multiple channels. So our widget will allow you to not only have website chat, but also give your customers the opportunity to reach out by WhatsApp, or for example, by email, or even by voice. Lastly, you will get basically the code to place on your website. You might also need to contact your website maintainer for that. But basically, it's copying, pasting this script on your website environment so you can have your website chats. So let's suppose I have my code placed. Be aware you can always find this back, so it's not something you would need to save right away, because it will lead us to the website widget settings, which can be found by the steps we just did with website chat, but also in the left bottom, you see website widgets. So in this case, I can basically make the settings as we just did, but it will be in a bit more structured format than questions being asked to you. The widget key can always be found back here. So that's where you can copy paste the link. I'd like to show you how the widget would work. And for that, I would need to go to another screen. Let me check if you're able to see this. Yeah, I think so. You're feel free to interrupt if it's not the case. So here we see basically a blank page, but here's our widget that we created. So I could open it and we see the text I also entered, and I could just simply engage with Trengo. I also get the pop-up, and in this case it says no one is available at the moment because I put myself on unavailable. But this pop-up will basically also give room to leave my email address so people can always follow up. So now get back to the Trengo side, how that looks in Trengo. If I go to the inbox, I'm assuming to have received a website chat. And let me check, here it is. So this is how the messages of website chat come in. You see that it's basically the same layout as email, except for that it is a conversation. So messages in white is of the customer, green is what I say, or well, in this case, the widget says, and then I can assign it to me to start conversating. This will then be also shown on the other side, like this. And you see now that my name is here because I picked up the chat. So a chatter will also be able to see who he's chatting with. All right, so that's how to set up a website chat. Again, documentation afterwards. If you have specific need for help with the setup, you can also always reach us at team@trengo.com if you have any questions on the setup. For now, let's focus on maybe the most important thing in how to keep an overview in your communication and efficient tools to basically govern your workflow. First of all, overview of communications. I also introduced it a little bit. It's the labels feature. So as I said, labels will allow you to get more insights in your inbox, but also to have filter options. You can basically make them however you want by clicking on add label, and you can determine the content however you want. For example, what I know a lot of customers want to keep track of is how many people are requesting returns of their products. So in this case, I could select the channels it's applicable for. In case I leave it empty, it's applicable for all. And I can also choose a nice color if I want, and the order in which it's displayed here. So let's say this is an important one. I want it to be stated at the top. So now you see it also here, it's placed at the top. And as such, I could manually keep track of all the returns. However, you can also automatically keep track of it. And that's actually the second feature I would like to introduce to you, which is the rules function. It's a very, very frequently used feature because it allows you to automate all your tasks in Trengo if you want to. To show you how that works, you might be familiar with it, by the way, from Outlook or Gmail, because they have a similar sort of function. But this is basically a feature to allow you to automate tasks based on a situation. To give you an idea on what options there are, you see here, for example, I can automatically close tickets. I could assign it to a specific user or attach labels in this case, which we just did to create a label. So there's a lot of options to automate this, and I always say keep this in the back of your head because you're going to familiarize yourself with tasks in Trengo while working in it. And you might think of, well, useful things to automate, and otherwise you can also always reach out to us if you need any assistance with that. So basically how you set this up is always that you need to indicate a name. So let's try to automatically attach a label. And you can choose the channels for which it's applicable. In this case, I would say email, because mostly you would receive like return emails automatically. And you can choose a trigger. So you can trigger the rule based on an inbound message when the conversation is assigned an outbound message, or when the conversation is closed. So let's say in this case, an inbound message is received. And basically what that means, every time I would receive an inbound message, it's going to check the conditions if the rule can execute the action. So in this case, let's say I want to attach the label returns. This is how I can select that, and I can determine basically the conditions. What is very frequently used here is either the email subject, because you might receive emails with a standard subject, or you could also use the message body, which is also very frequently used. If, for example, you would like to keep track of the topics that are discussed in website chat, you could say, let's create labels based on the message body content. For example, I have a complaint, and that it would then place a label complaint, for example. But in this example, let's keep it with the returns label. So typically it might be an email subject considering a request for return, for example. In this case, all emails that come in with this email subject, or at least if it's in the email subject, it will place the label return. Again, rules, a very useful feature to basically automate all your tasks. Next thing I would like to introduce, a very useful feature to automate your workflows, is chatbot and flowbot. So to explain you the difference, a chatbot is basically the traditional version that you might have experienced with other companies. So chatbot will be used to answer frequently asked questions. You would create a database in Trengo, and basically if the customer would type the question that corresponds to something that you have in your database, it would give the answer back. The flowbot, on the other hand, is more elaborative. As you see also the icon, it's basically a decision tree and a digital navigation menu for your customer. By the way, both bots can be placed on live chat, WhatsApp Business Messenger, basically all messaging channels in Trengo. So let's dive into the chatbot first, and I'll give you a brief overview of flowbot also. I also created one, and we'll send you information on how to set it up. You can always try this without any cost involved. Basically, you can create your questions in categories. So I could create categories, but for now, I just kept it simple. I defined some questions and also defined the answer. I can always add more questions or forms that customers might ask it, but I can do that manually, and I can also keep track of what the chatbot was not able to answer. So this is called the mismatches. In mismatches, you will gather all questions that the chatbot was not able to answer, but you can always add them done with using mismatches. Lastly, the settings page. Well, obviously you can select the channel on which it's active. Be sure to publish it before you want to set it live. And there's some extra settings to determine how many chances do I want to give the flowbot before it forwards the conversation to my team, so that it would get human contact. And also the confidence interval, which would mean how many percentage of the sentence that the customer types needs to correspond with what I have in my database. So moving on to the flowbot. As I said, flowbot is basically a digital navigation menu in which you can lead your customer to the right contact person or the right information by means of clicks and buttons. So I created a short example, and basically what the flowbot does is that you would create several steps. Naturally, you would start in step A, and this is what I see often with customers, that they start with an introduction message, how can we help you? And then giving options in, well, how the customer can be helped. So let's say, for example, I would choose, I want more product information. Well, you can send, again, new texts to inform the customer what you want, and then also give new options to, well, navigate further on in what they're interested in. For example, interested in flowbot, chatbot, the WhatsApp Business API perhaps. But it's also possible, if I go back to the first step, to redirect them to a certain team. So let's say a customer would say, I require support. Then you could say something in the flowbot like, all right, I'll put you in contact with our support team, and one of my colleagues will help you shortly. Basically, at the end, then you assign it to a team so that it would arrive in your inbox, and then you can start engaging in person. There's also the option to leave or to ask questions to the customer. So let's say you would like to collect information before they get in contact with a human agent. You might need their question, you might need ID numbers, you might need, well, any kind of information before you can actually properly help them. So you can always collect and save information of customers before they are forwarded from flowbot to human agents. Now, this feature is very elaborative. Here you see basically what options there are. So you could send text, you could send videos, images, files. You could request then information from the user, and you could even integrate with other systems. So I know what customers also do is, for example, providing track and trace within the flowbot. If the customer would leave their ID number, they would get the status of their order, basically. Again, we'll send you information afterwards in the meeting or after the webinar, because there's a lot of options here, and yeah, it's just very elaborative. I'm seeing we have quite some minutes left. So the last thing I would like to show you is how to keep track of all your data in Trengo when you're working in it. And it brings me to the statistics feature. Be aware, this is actually something we're gonna change soon, either March or beginning April, I think. And it will basically allow you to keep track of all your conversations and yeah, the general overview of your account. I could, for example, see in quick graphs how many tickets came in on specific days, and I can specify the period. I could filter on a channel, user, and labels. And that's also, by the way, why labels are very powerful. I show you how to create a label. I also showed you how to use rules to automate placement of labels. And if you can get a construction that you automatically categorize your tickets by means of labels, it will allow you to also automatically keep track of your performance. So in the example, for example, I made label return. And well, in this case, there's no ticket with that label, but let's say I would automatically record all tickets that get the label return. I would be able to see, for example, at the end of the month, how many tickets were about returns. So there's a lot of other options here to see the amount of closed tickets, tickets by channel type, so you could also see the performance. First response, which would look at when is the first response of an agent to an incoming inquiry. The resolution time, which looks at when a ticket is created and when a ticket is closed. And time tracking, which is a manual action, but you would be able to see how many times someone spends on a ticket. Lastly, if you would like any further analyses, you can also make exports. So you could basically export your tickets in a CSV file to follow up in Excel or any other analysis program to see your performance. I think that's it for now, for today. So I would like to thank you all for your time. We will definitely send you the link to the webinar. And if you have any questions left, feel free to ask them to Jura now, otherwise email them to team@trengo.com. Thank you all for visiting, and yeah, I hope to see you soon.